since the mid-1800s. And here in this church particularly, this Free Seventh-day Adventist church, we have had the blessed benefit of ministers who preach health. So we all here this afternoon, possibly with the exception of our visitor, but maybe not, can probably give a lecture on health as much as you have learned over the years. So our problem is not so much a lack of knowledge. This afternoon we're going to delve a little bit into some of those things. As you see, the title is Address Your Health Now, or It Will Address You. And before we go forward, I want to go backward a little bit. In 1863, our prophet, Ellen G. White, received the first vision that was specifically about health. Well, since that one, she received others, but this was the beginning of what we now know as the health message. In the book, Messenger of Light, someone, I guess the White estate, or maybe Ellen herself, distilled that vision. It's called the Otsego Vision in 1863. I believe it was June of 1863. She distilled it down to 33 essential points. We don't have time this afternoon to go over all 33 essential points of that message, but I wanted to read a few of them to you, primarily so that we could kind of see how the things that she was shown way back then are still applicable to our lives today. So I'm going to start somewhere in the 20s, where she says this. Number 20, obeying the laws of health will prevent many illnesses. So what prevents many illnesses? Obedience to the laws of health. Very good. Number 21 says, God is too often blamed for deaths caused by violation of nature's laws. I remember as a kid growing up, my mother was a very sociable person in the neighborhood, and people would somehow congregate in her kitchen. And I would hear women say, oh, yeah, this is so-and-so's wrong with me, and it's just a cross that I got to bear. And I'm thinking, I'm a kid, I'm thinking, why is it a cross, and why does she have to bear it? Sicknesses can be overcome. And later on, my mother explained the significance of those words. But she said, that lady said, God is who put this on her for her to bear. No, he didn't. Drink put that on her. And so it became clear to me that these words are really true. So, number 24 says, God will not work healing miracles for those who continually violate the laws of health. Well, number, 25 is worth reading. Many invalids have no physical cause for their illness. They have a diseased imagination. Interesting. Last year, our focus was on the mind and all that goes on with the mind and how the mind affects the body. And she said way back in 1863, she was shown that many illnesses, really are not illnesses at all, except that they have lodged themselves in people's minds. Listen to this one. this is number 31, caring for health is a spiritual matter, reflecting a person's commitment to God. I want to read that one again. We're going to talk about this some more. Caring for health is a spiritual matter, reflecting a person's commitment to God. And the last one, well, second to last one I'm going to read. A healthy mind and body directly affects one's morals and one's ability to discern truth. A healthy mind and body is an essential if you want to be able to discern God's truth. And don't we in this last day need that? We need to be able to discern the truth for us. And the last one I'm going to read is the last one on the list, number 33. All God's promises are given on condition of obedience, including the promises that he made to keep us healthy. He can't do what we will not do. In relation to that, I want to read something that I read the last time that I was on the podium. Day by day, through the agencies of nature, God is working day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment, to keep us alive, to build up, and to restore. This can be found in Ministry of Healing. Many transgress the laws of health through ignorance, and they need instruction. That's where we come in, medical missionaries, all of us, right? But most of us know better than we do. We are the repositories of so much information, all of it good and worthwhile. But what do we do with it? We need, she says, to be impressed with the importance of making the knowledge we have a guide for our own lives. And so we come to the question of what are we to do today about our health? Now, if I ask for a show of hands of anybody here who thinks that they are in very good health, any hands? If you think you are in great health, great physical shape, put your hand up. Not yet. You got a question? Oh, okay. About what I just asked. Uh-huh. Microphone. I wasn't expecting a question, just a show of hands, so. I know what you say. Total health. So raise your hand if you think you're in great physical shape.
Okay, when you say, okay, now you're saying physical.
Uh-huh.
Okay, when you say great health, is that saying not occasional headache, or you just, are we talking like Adam and Eve type health before?
Overall. Okay.
I have a follow-up question to that, because now you said great health, and now you said overall.
Yes.
So it's just like the brother is asking, if you have an occasional pain here, or and then that would be age dependent too, because a 90-year-old person and maybe a 20-year-old person might be expected to have different levels of health, because a 19-year-old person will not be able to walk as fast, will be tottering a bit, so it's relative. So when you ask, if you have great health, I was about to put my hand up, and then I said, well, no, maybe I shouldn't put my hand up.
Okay, let's say you are free of the known diseases, you know, the major known diseases. All right. Okay, at least some of us are. Based on what we already know, we should all be there, right? We should all be there. So the question becomes then, why aren't we? Now, last time Sister Lyles did this presentation, she mentioned the 5 blue zones and the Adventists out in Loma Linda, California, who were part of the blue zones, healthiest people in the world. I just read, it's probably not a new article, but about Dr. John Scharfenberg. He is a physician out there, 100 years old and still practicing. I mean, yeah. The first group of people that I saw like that was at Wildwood, 90-year-olds. And they were going, they lived up on the hill, and they would come down there with their little bag, go to the store, get their stuff, and go right back up that hill. And I said, who are these people? What exactly are they doing here? I thought maybe there was a home or something. Nah, they live there. They live in Wildwood, Georgia, and they go up and down that hill like it was nothing, get their groceries, and go home. So I'm talking that kind of health, where you can take care of yourself, where you're able to think and make the change in the store correctly and stuff like that. But we're not actually there. Reason being, well, age, as Sister Francis mentioned, yeah, we have physical limitations, but, you know, there are people in this world who live to be a ripe old age without the physical limitations. And that is the Bible expectation for us. I want to read you something from, let's see. No, not you either. Where is this? Every organ has its function, and our Creator has pledged Himself, nobody else. He did not leave this to the angels or to Ellen White, good messenger though she was. He has pledged Himself to keep our organs in a healthful condition if we will obey the laws implanted in our nature. When I read that word implanted, that means from the time I was born, I had the finger of God on each and every cell. You know how many cells are in the body? Anybody? Average. 39 trillion. I can't even imagine what that is. I've never even seen a million, so 39 trillion is like mind-boggling. But that's approximately how many cells are in the human body. Imagine that God has charge of each of the 39 trillion for each person in this world. What a God. What a God we serve. No wonder the psalmist declares that we are what? Fearfully and wonderfully made. Is it the psalmist? Yeah. Listen to this. The laws governing the physical nature are as truly divine in their origin and character as the laws of the 10 Commandments. Man is fearfully and wonderfully made, for Jehovah has inscribed His law by His own mighty hand on every part of the physical structure. Amazing. Now that we know that He has an active part in all the cells in our body, that ought to energize us somewhat, okay? Many are sick who might be well if they would but cooperate with God, surrendering soul, body, and spirit to His control. For in order to have health, we must keep ourselves in harmony with God's laws. You said it this morning, Pastor. In order for us to be in health, who must be in control of these 39 trillion cells? And that includes brain cells, you know. because it starts right there. We'll come to that. To have clean hands and a pure heart is to have peace and contentment of mind, and this is conducive to health. That's from Manuscript Releases 16. So basically, we have every advantage to be healthy. You know, we have really no excuses, but we have every advantage. Just the fact that God has a hand in every cell in my body makes me want to do better immediately. You know, you don't want to let down the side. I mean, God has done everything possible for us. All we have to do, however, is what? Something that Sister Lottie says to me all the time: surrender, right? Surrender. Some wise person I read some time ago said that 90% of all illness is due to self-control or the lack thereof. And I'm like, oh, it's a bit harsh. You know, we're only human. But I thought about what he said. And this was, I think it was T. Colin Campbell, who, by the way, he's a famous doctor and scientist, you know, did the China study and all. He said something about Ellen White that surprised me. He said for her time and for her educational level, she is the most. Yes, he praised her. He said her information is spot on. And I'm like, So the world is recognizing that what she said, and this started back in 1863. Today is 2024, and still they're discovering little by little that what she said is what it is. You know, today, as I was listening to Pastor, I thought, Pastor, you're just speaking the health thing that I had for this afternoon, which is good. Because basically what I want to say is the reason that we're not all in the best physical health is because of us. Apart from a congenital disease that you were born with, you know, you don't have much control over that. It does what it does. I have a family friend, and all his brothers have Parkinson's disease. It is so sad, and these are brilliant guys. One of them emails me every Sabbath with a greeting. It's poetry. It's a long thing, text. It's beautiful poetry, but he is a great writer. He used to be an editor at Review and Herald. But I'm saying, brilliant guys that I went to school with, but Parkinson's has robbed them of careers and lives. So I'm saying, apart from those kinds of things, there's things that we have control over. Okay, so that leads to, what do we have control over really when it comes to our health? Somebody asked me the other day, what causes, you know, what are the determinants, in other words, this was at work, of health? And I said, well, what do you think? And they said things like, genetics. I said, okay, we'll come back to that. They said, money, because if you don't have insurance, you're dead. I said, okay, we can come back to that. And then they said, your environment. What if you're born healthy, but you grew up in a real bad environment, you know? People didn't know anything about good health or keeping the place clean or eating the right food. Okay. How old are you now, did you say? 23? Okay. And they went down this list. Nowhere in that list was the name of God mentioned. So I said, do you believe that God created your body? Yeah, sure. And do you believe he still has some control as creator over your body? Yeah, to to some extent. I said, there we go. That might be your answer right there. Because when we choose to let God keep his hand on every of the 39 trillion cells, what's the result? And I said that includes brain cells. We find strength to do what? Obey his laws. This is what brings us to health. We can talk about natural remedies all day long. I can do a charcoal poultice right quick, okay? A ginger poultice, a potato poultice. Yeah, we can do all that. I can tell you about lovely green smoothies and things to eat more of and all that. Sister Diane did a whole lecture 2 months ago about that. Gave us a sheet with all the foods that are high in fiber, which, by the way, is very good for us. Fiber. How many people actually read that sheet? Sister Luna. Yeah. See, that's where we are right now. We get all the information. At the moment, it seems, yeah, great, we're convinced. You know, we feel good about the information. We know some more things. We get the sheets of paper to match. And we go home, and the excitement slowly wanes. And we put the paper in the drawer, along with the other papers and the tracts and stuff. And we go back to doing what? What we know, what we are comfortable with, right? What's easy, you know? And we make excuses for not doing it. So I hope that this afternoon I can kind of wake up some enthusiasm, especially after today's sermon, for obeying the laws of our being. Moral laws, all good. Physical laws, all good. What are the physical laws, by the way? I should be hearing answers real quick. Physical laws? I'm hearing mumbling. Nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine. All that goes along. What did you say, my brother? Fresh air. Temperance. What's the other T? Trust in God. Well, we know the 8 laws. We know how to do the natural remedies, or we should. We know all about eating well. By the way, should we eat according to the world standards? Does God have standards? Huh? Yes. What are his standards, really? Do we know?
We look under the principles of first one is nutrition, so we need to put away the meat, the milk, the cheese. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The first law deals with it under nutrition, and based upon the message that we receive from inspiration, we need to put away the meat, the milk, the fish, the eggs, and start getting into the grains, the nuts, and all that the Lord has provided us in good, natural, healthy foods, fruits included.
Excellent. What do you call that kind of food? Plant-based whole foods, right? Or whole plant-based eating. We know this, right? So we're not going to get into all of that. As I'm saying, we got all this covered. I'm sure everybody in here could tell me what New Start means and go into detail on every subject, every part of it. Do we do it routinely? Some, but not all. And so what I'm saying today is When we think of health and we think of the work that we're called to do as medical missionaries, we often think of just that, the New Start, and we think of the natural remedies and herbs and things like that. But a lot of the time, those things come like after, somebody gets sick, then we go to help them with this, with that, with the other. But really and truly, those things are for us to live out in our daily lives now to prevent a problem, especially with facing what we are facing. Pastor alluded to it this morning. We're coming upon a very serious time. And in case you guys hadn't realized it, I know you have, you see where we're going. The next big thing is this election in November. Based on the outcomes of that, and we're seeing how that's working out already, based on those outcomes, we're entering some turbulent times. Things are not going to be like they were before. While we have some time now is when we need to follow these principles. Putting it off for a better time is a no-go. Now is our time, because in a few months, in a year, we're going to have to be in good physical shape to be able to do God's will. We read something this morning, I have to look at my book, that said that if you are not obeying the moral law as well as the physical law, you're not going to be able to comprehend the truth fully. Okay? I would be deathly afraid of being unable to comprehend the truth as God sees it in my life. I would be deathly afraid, because that puts me on shaky ground. That puts me on a place where I can't depend. I can't go to God and say, Lord, I have this pain in my leg. I think it's from running too much, or that is not likely, but walking too much. Okay, speak to me, Lord. Tell me what I should do first, and expect that He will answer me. But if I am not in the habit of following the laws, should I be in the habit of expecting the Lord to answer me? He expects something from us. What is that something that He expects from us? Obedience. Obedience. He does expect obedience. Why do we think that it's necessary? Well, not necessary. Why do we think it's okay to kind of slide by here and slide by there and, just say, the circumstances, Lord, and excuse ourselves? I was going over the Adventist health study. This was a study Sister Liza alluded to the last time. And they found that overall Adventists were generally healthier than the general population. All well and good. This study, though, that I looked at was the first one. So it is older, the information is older. But I bet you if they did a study today, it would not have those wonderful results. Because we've kind of slid, further and further away. A lot of Adventist churches now, you go and you have lunch at their church, you can't find anything to eat. It's just the way it is. And a man told me the reason being that Jesus ate flesh. And I thought to myself, is this an Adventist I'm talking to? Who is this person? Because he should know the answer to that already. Sister Lyles. But that's where we are. Let's be real, right? Let's just be real. Because that's what I've been doing with myself here of late. Just be real. I have an addiction. And one of the first things when you go to those meetings, well, I've never had to go, but they say, I'm John, like AA, and I'm addicted to alcohol, And I feel like I should go before the Lord and said, I'm Paula, and I am truly addicted to chocolate, you know. But I have prayed, and I'll tell you what happened. Well, I'll tell you once Sister Lyles is done.
I wanted to add to what you were saying that I've had many new converts to Adventism, you know, that maybe have been an Adventist less than 10 years, some even less than at 20. And they said when they were introduced to Adventism, the focus was the Sabbath. They never got any teaching on health reform. That was not a subject that was touched when they were studying. I have one friend that's been in Adventist probably about 30 years, and she said that she thanked God that the lady that introduced her to the Sabbath from her job gave her the whole package, because she would probably not be alive. She told me that she never drank water. She was a coffee drinker, and that's what she drank at work, coffee and Coke. And she didn't even realize that the color of her skin had changed. Because you see yourself every day, until she ran into an old high school friend, and the girl almost didn't recognize her. It was in at a meeting or a mall or something, and they like passed each other, and she called her name, and she said, "Is that you?" And they recognized each other. And she said, "Girl, I didn't know you. Where have you been? Have you been living on some type of exotic island or something?" And she said, "Why you say that?" She said, "Well, you got a tan that won't quit." So this lady never drank any water, and she gave testimony that if it had not been for the health reform message that she received as she was studying, coming into the church, she would not be alive. And so that is one of the main issues that people don't know, because the church is not sharing that information up front when it teaches you, about Christ. But it's there. It is the health message is a part of the third angel's message.
And the thing is that the truth continues to be hidden under a bushel because they refuse to speak to the spirit of prophecy. They no longer even mention it anymore, in the which it is clarified exactly what that means. So if you don't accept the word of God through the prophet, and you barely understand the word of God in the Bible, there's no hope but us, which is all the more reason we have to be on the top of our game. We can't just speak it, which is something we're comfortable doing right about now. We're very comfortable with the principles, with speaking about them, as I said before. But we want it to be a part of us. Some wise person said, good health is a habit, not an event. We've become comfortable with the events, But I started to tell you something about this addiction that holds people, And I can only tell it because it was my experience. And I was going along, thinking I'm doing all good. A couple of years ago, I thought I had the health message fully down, understood all the principles, worked at Wildwood for a while, Listen, something resurfaced in my life after all that has been an addiction since childhood, and that is chocolate. Well, sugar, but chocolate specifically. And I found that, strangely, I could not go into the grocery store and pass by the candy aisle without picking up a packet of Lindt hazelnut chocolate. I was pretty specific. Now, did that make me a bad Christian? But in my heart of hearts, I knew what it made me. disobedient. Thank you, Sister Annie. Very disobedient. But I didn't see my danger immediately because that thing is so sweet. And it awakens a craving, you know what I'm saying? That is undeniable sometimes. Until one day, they're driving home from Houston. I had this strange, like, pain in my left arm, which I thought it was just overwork. You know, I was helping with the pool and doing that thing, and it takes a lot of energy. So I kept on moving, and then I started to feel a little bit dizzy. And I thought, oh, but I'm driving, and it's a long way, so I can't be dizzy. So I thought I needed water, drank some water, went on about my business. So later on in the day, I went home. I told my daughter about it, and she's like, Mom, that's unusual for you, because I don't get sick, thank God. But later on that afternoon, I went to pick up some kids at the school not far from my house. And there I was. I picked the kids up. They're in the car. We're chit-chatting on the way home. And here's that thing again. My arm just felt like it was going to sleep or something. And that nauseous feeling, slightly dizzy. And I thought, what in the world? Drank some more water. Made it home. So I called my daughter and said, that thing happened again. It's really weird. I'm not sure what it is. She said, we ought to go to the hospital. Well, I have worked in hospitals pretty much most of my professional life. And no, we're not going. So I came home and I did what I had to do, had my dinner, this, that, and the other, went to bed. And here we go again. I woke up with this same feeling. And I thought, this is not just, you know, like you think something is just something passing. It was not. So I went to the ER. Needless to say, several hours later, I was being wheeled into some room. And they said, we're going to put a stent in your heart because you have a 90% blockage of your right coronary artery. And I thought, oh, what? That is so weird. There's no one, not even my dead mother and father, in my family with a heart disease. I said, are you sure? So the doctor just looked at me. You know how they have that little condescending look? And he said to me, my dear, this is my profession. This is what I do. I said, that's what I'm afraid of. Because you see a blocked artery in everybody that comes through here probably. He said, no, we're dealing with you, so don't try to deflect that. And so he explained what he was going to do. I'm telling you, I lay on that bed for 24 hours after that in severe pain because whatever they had to do, you had to lay still for 24 hours, and it was you could not get up. Getting up was just impossible. Pain. So I lay there and I said, but Lord, why? I do everything that you asked me to do. What's this? I lay like that for about 48 hours. And then the third day I said to them, look, I'm going home. They said, well, wait, you have to be seen. I said, no, I don't. I'm going home. So I left and I went home. But I had to lay down because I couldn't walk and I sure couldn't move my arm much. It hurt so much. But the Lord spoke to me while I was lying in that bed. And I was talking to him in my head all the time, constantly, like, show me what. I still didn't think of that thing, you know? And then, out of the clear blue, it's like he said to me, what did you eat that day? I didn't eat a whole lot. I didn't have breakfast before I went to the pool cleaning thing. And coming home, I think, oh, yeah. How many of you know the little chocolates that come in a silver wrapper? Ferrero Rocher. It's a French name, but really it was probably made right here. Yeah, Ferrero Rocher. It's got crushed hazelnuts, and you buy a box of it. And this box I bought had about 12. And I had finished them by the time I got home. So I said, Lord Jesus, forgive me. You were right. I have been extra disobedient, and I'm not saying I deserve to have that problem, but I'm just saying. You know, Ellen White says the cure for anything is usually in the cause. She's right. The cure for anything that you might have is usually in the cause. And she also recommends that the cause, the disease, whatever it is, doesn't come without a cause. The intelligent thing to do when you get sick is to figure out what caused this. Was it sleeplessness? Was it eating too many chocolates or sweet things? Was it not following the proper diet? Was it over-exercise? Do you believe you could over-exercise? Man, I think you can, because I've looked at, my son-in-law is big into that whole exercise thing, and sometimes I say to him, well, where are you going? You're not a very tall man, but your shoulders are humongous. I mean, like, it's not proportionate. So at some point, do you step backwards or what? He says, no, you go harder. I'm like, okay. So it could be anything, but you have to figure out what is the cause of this thing in order to be able intelligently to address it. But what we do is something happens, we can't, handle it ourselves. We go to the doctor, and what's their response? A prescription. Usually, it's a prescription. Does that tend to health? No. Medicines don't cure disease. It might temper the symptoms, a little bit, but it does not cure. And I know that for a fact. But doctors will still prescribe medication because that is all they have. However, that is not our case, because who do we have as the greatest physician ever known? The Lord himself, Jesus himself. And that is who can deliver us from whatever caused our ailment. So you better believe that I have worked on my addiction, and I have gone into the candy aisle just to test myself. And I can look at those things and I smile because it brings back a very vivid memory. And I am able to walk on by and go to do whatever I came here to do. So what I hope that will say to us is this: it is a matter of simply the mind. If you go to the Lord truly and ask him to reveal to you whatever it is that you're not doing to obey all the laws, he will reveal it to you. In a quiet moment, he will. Your duty is to immediately cut that thing off. Whatever it is. If it's not good for you, then you don't need it. Ask him to help you, and he will. Now, a lot of us know why we're sick. We know the cause, but we won't do anything about it because it's something that we like. But I want to tell you, in the US of A, we have an epidemic of illness. Heart disease, in 2019, 702,000 people died. Cancer, not far behind. Accidents, this is unintentional injuries, I don't know who injures themselves intentionally, but anyway. strokes. So I would say the three big ones are heart disease, cancer, and strokes, in that order. All of those things are avoidable. If you don't have it right now, don't plan to get it. You know how to avoid it. Follow what? All the laws, including the laws of health. They're just as important. And so going back to that Adventist health study thing, I watched a doctor give a report, and he was talking about his area there in California. But I thought about here in Georgia, when years ago I used to work in a clinic for dialysis patients. And I found that the Georgia was in the hot spot, one of the states with the highest rate of kidney failure. And I thought, why should that be? But then I thought about what Southerners eat generally. You know, high fat diets, a lot of grease, and stuff like that. No good. But for me to be able to say something to these people like now, to anybody who is sick, I have to be first living according to his laws. And that's where the problem is. As I said before, we know a lot. We can spout it to everybody and anybody. Our problem is living it. It is only as we live it, as we ourselves are obedient, that we can share it, that it would have power to convict somebody else that this is the way to go. And I can't vouch for you guys, but I know for myself, I don't ever want to be sick again in this life. COVID, or what is the thing? Mpox notwithstanding, I don't want any of them. I can safely say that I am going to do everything that is in my power to live according to the laws of health and to live according to the moral laws also, because they work together. You know, they're twins. And so if you break all of these laws, but you keep all of these, it's no point. Even if you break one of these and you keep all, it's no good. It's an all or nothing. I want to read something else for you. In Spiritual Gifts on page 48, this statement is made. Care of health is a religious duty. Care of health is a religious duty. A lot of people just consider, you know, the moral law to be important. Physical laws are equally important. The cause of most diseases is a violation of the health laws. And then she goes on to say in Spiritual Gifts 4A, page 145 and 146, the power of the will, the power of the will. I mean, if you will to be healthy and to follow God's law, then you will be. You will be. All right. It is 4 o'clock. Do we have any comments or questions?
Yeah, could you give those last reference again?
Spiritual gifts, what the power of the will? Spiritual gifts, 4A, 145 and 146.
Okay, is this in Spiritual Gift, Volume 1, 2, 3, 4?
It says 4.
Okay, the first one you gave was Spiritual Gift, page 48.
Yeah, I don't have that, but I can get it for you out of my.
Can you go back to that reference, Sister Paula?
Which one?
Did you say it, or did you show it up?
Yeah, it's not in this program. I'd have to go to something else to find it.
Give
It's
me
in
the
my.
first 3 words of the reference.
Yeah, it's care of health. Care of health is a religious duty. Is that the one?
I got the book out.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got
Or
the page.
comments?
I'll find it. But I do have a question though.
Uh-huh.
And you made mention about that you had 90% blockage. Okay, my question is,
Actually, that's what he said to me. That's at least that was I remember. But when the results came out, and I could print out my chart online, the only thing that's listed there is 70%.
okay, so my question is there's an herb that can be taken that will sort of like melt or dissolve these blockages without a person having to go through these surgeries or anything?
Again, with natural remedies, they take time. It's not going to do it immediately, but yes, there are things that would mitigate unclog arteries. And the other part of that picture, usually that goes concurrently, is dehydration. You know, if the blood is not flowing well first, and you have arterial blockage, that's going to have a problem. That's going to be a problem. And so I wasn't drinking enough water. I was being out in the sun a whole lot, but not drinking as much as I needed to, which is more than my regular amount. So all these things I was able, in looking back, as doing what Ellen White says, the cure is in the cause. Going back, I could see where a calamity was gonna fall if I didn't do something different. And so God stopped me in my tracks, and I had to do something different. Yes, sir, over there.
You know, one thing I do learn is that based on, what you read, obedience is for our own benefit. That's what I learned from what you said. And you asked a question when you asked how many... ask the question, how many, show of hands, who can say, they're healthy. And, I don't think you get even 3 persons who show their hands, and you ask the question, why? The answer to me is like disobedience. And with everything that I said, the best remedy for me is abstinence. That's the best remedy. Because you mentioned the chocolate, and I was here fretting myself because Aunt Luna can tell you, almond covered with dark chocolate, I eat that a lot because I read a lot. And when I'm reading, I like to have one just in my mouth. And she always warned me about that. And when you talk about the blockage and all of that, I'm saying to myself,
ease up.
What's next?
Yes.
And so that's what I was saying to myself. So that's why I said the best remedy is abstinence.
Abstinence, very good. I can walk by it now without purchasing. Praise God. And he will take that desire from you. Because I asked specifically, I said, Lord, this is it. Please take the desire, the taste, everything from me. And so now I go through that aisle, and I don't care what they have there. I'm not getting it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with abstinence because I have a cousin, his son recently developed a heart condition, and we've been warning him, like, he loves seafood, like the shellfish and all that stuff. And even I was telling him, my cousin said to me, Leroy, can you talk to him for me? Because he won't listen to me. So I spoke to him. He wouldn't listen. But you know what? A lot of people, when they finally listen, when something happens.
Yes.
And it so happened, he's a young man and he has a heart condition now. And you know what they found out? That because he was feeding on so much, and his wife was a part, because he got married too, and his wife has I guess she's from Louisiana or something like that. So she have the shellfish thing.
Raw
And
fish.
he was a Jamaican, Now, he adapt her eating habits, and I've been trying to talk to him. Now, he happened to have a heart condition now. When they relate it is because, shellfish has so much cholesterol in it. If only to find out now that his heart had to work so hard that it strained one of the, I call it the ventricles in it. strained because of that.
Yeah.
And that was his wake-up call. So, you know, you don't need to wait that, you know, them say an ounce of what prevention is better than
a
pound of cure. And he had to find out no, he's saying, oh, I wish I had listened now. But we said, we tried to help you.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the wife, you know, what was funny about it, his wife was actually blaming my cousin, who is a father, that, you know, this thing running the family. He said, no way this thing running the family. I've been always healthy. I was active. He used to play soccer in Jamaica. So he was always an active person. I never had a heart condition. My heart is always strong. I watch what I eat and all that. And even now, even though he was an athletic person in the past, I've been, even me being vegan now, he's kind of adopting what I do because he realizes that the vegan, my vitals and all that is always good. And I encourage him now. And even he said this after what happened with his son. He said, boy, you know, he said, boy, Leroy, I'm going to have to be more like you now, you know. So I said, yeah, and I'm trying to, and he was always active in his life, and he sort of couch potato now. So I'm encouraging him now that I tell, look, why not every Sunday we start going to the park? Because I go to the Sunday, when I'm not working, I always go to the park, go walk and read and all that. And I've been encouraging him, say, all right, you know what, I'm going to come with you because I want to live a little longer. He's like 10 years older than me. But I sent him a video recently where this old man said I think I sent it to you, Sister Lottie, where this old man said he outlived the brothers in his family just because he was more active than them.
Exactly.
He's older than his younger brothers and he outlived them. They all had some issues. And he said his longevity was due to him being active. So I sent it to my cousin. And obviously he watched it and he said, you know what, I agree. I'm going to have to be more active. Not because I was active when I'm young. It's not going to help me now. So now he wants to come to the park. So he always say, whenever you go in, call me. Because I'm trying to prolong my life now. Worse, this scare happened with his son. And it really shook him up.
Yeah.
So even the son now, because of this, has agreed that he's gonna like get a bicycle and so forth because he heard that. Because I cycle and I talk to him, I say, you know, I cycle because they say it's good for heart.
Yes, it is.
Heart health. So, you know, sometimes people need to go the hard route before they can learn. But you know, what can you do?